Hello, everybody, and welcome to our South Virtual Curriculum Night. I'm your host, Mr. Meyer, and I am super excited for our lineup of guests that we have tonight. It's going to be a great show. I'm planning on running this for about an hour. We may go a little bit longer, but probably be done around 7 o'clock. I just want to give you a little backstory to our virtual curriculum night. It's actually started out of COVID because we couldn't have parents come into the building, and we thought we still wanted to have some sort of an engagement activity with them, and so we decided to do it virtual. And what we found out is it was really a good way of getting out our information, because this is kind of an information-heavy night, and it's just hard to listen to that while you're in the classroom. So sitting at home in the comfort of your own living room or wherever you happen to be at, where the kids can just kind of relax and watch. You can make dinner while you're doing this or however you want to. That kind of works out really well. So we've kind of continued that tradition there. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you're joining us live, if you're watching the recording, thank you. Not quite as much, but almost. I appreciate you guys as well too. Thanks for joining in with us. And so we're going to kick off the story. We're not having a story tonight. This is live, by the way, so all my flubs are going to be completely out there. But we're going to start our show tonight, and we're going to start it off with our very first guest. Our first guest is our counselor, is Kayla Cole, who has already ruined our backdrop here as she was walking off, and so you can kind of see that in the background there. So
Hi, everybody.
We're going to very discreetly fix that so you can't see behind there anymore. But there we are. So yeah, so we have Kayla Cole here tonight. And I'll have to tell you, I'm a little disappointed.
Okay.
Because I had this all set up and I had some really great things going on. And so hopefully one of the audience members there is Mr. McKay, who Mr. McKay is like the founder of SRTV, right?
Yes.
And so he watched last time and he's like, hey, Mr. Meyer, you should be doing this, this, and this. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do all those things. That sounds great. One of the things I was going to have a little ticker that runs along the bottom, right?
Okay.
Had it all working. It was all working perfectly. And then guess what? Here I go. And I try to do it now. It's just a red bar.
Mr. McKay.
That's not helpful, is it?
No.
Well, it's not his fault. It's my fault. I don't know. Something happened. So anyways, so we're not going to have the little ticker that runs across the bottom. So I'm just going to do a very good job of introducing.
Okay.
So this is Kayla Cole. She's our counselor.
Hi, everyone.
And you can still see our background back here. So
There we go. I didn't take it down with me on my way in.
No, just kind of moved it a little bit. All right, so Ms. Cole, thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to talk about two main things. So kind of our two big things that we talk about, you are going to talk about with us, are our daily check-ins and then also our Raider Badge program.
Yeah,
that we have in
absolutely.
class.
I'm excited.
So last year we started our daily check-ins with students.
Yes.
That was kind of our first year of doing it like all together with everybody.
Yeah,
And
that was
so
awesome.
It was very successful, I thought. The kids really kind of took into kind of how they feel. And we saw some great things with the data that we collected from that, which has been fantastic. We were able to share that data home with parents, which we actually just sent a report home of September. So they have September and October check-ins, or not October, we're not there. We're in October.
Not yet, almost.
August. September and August check-ins were sent home, which is great. And I actually have a little graphic here I'm going to show you. Here we go, right there. Look at that. These are our September daily averages.
Look at that. Okay.
And so you can kind of see where we're at as we kind of peek out from behind. Can you peek out from your side too? You got to go the other way. Oh, there you are.
There.
Yep, there you are. So we have about a little over three people that were worried. This is an average per day. About 12 sad that reported sad, 33 tired, about 2 mad, angry, 138.6 happy, and then 17.6 content, which is awesome. And what's really cool is when I looked at this from even last year, like the kids who are reporting tired is down from last year at this time of the year, which is really awesome. Sad is down. Happy is way up. Of course, we have more kids being a first through third grade building this year and not the first and second grade only. So those are kind of our averages, which is really awesome.
Yeah,
really awesome to see.
I like that. We want to see our kids come into school ready, excited to be here.
Absolutely.
We try to create an environment where they want to come every day and learn, and so that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. So those reports that we send home kind of reflect that a little bit. And really the purpose of those reports is to kind of have conversations at home, conversations at school. It's helpful for kids to just know and adults to know kind of what they're going on, what they're coming in with, which is kind of neat.
And to think about their feelings and to think about how am I doing? Am I ready to go today, or do I need to figure out a way to regulate my emotions before I get started and can learn. So
Absolutely, yeah. We had some really good stories from some kids last year too. A couple of kids who kept reporting that they were tired, and when parents had conversations with them, found out, oh, they were sleeping. They're not going to sleep right away. They were staying up a little later.
And on the TV.
Yeah. So those are some things that are kind of nice to know and hear about,
Yeah.
and it gives you as parents something extra to talk about at home. How they're checking in, how they're feeling, why they might be feeling that way, just so we can all kind of work together and work through that.
Yeah, it's been a great system, and that data is really helpful to us.
And so tell us about some of the things that we're going to be moving towards with that. How are we going to expand
With the daily
that this year?
check-in.
Yes.
We're in the process of creating a daily check-in that would be done throughout the day. And so what we've noticed is that we do the check-in first thing in the morning. Well, once they get to school, they're exposed to different sorts of stresses or not stresses, and they might need a way to report that to their teacher. And so we're going to try to do one that they can do throughout the day anytime. If they're having a hard time in math, maybe they don't necessarily want to speak up and say that to their teacher, but if they had not really in an anonymous way, but a more private, discreet way,
Yep.
to share that with their teacher, I think that would be helpful for us. Something else I'd like to do in the future is kind of implement an end of the day check-in, where we could talk about the things that went really well for them that day, or the things that they want to make for a goal for tomorrow. And so I think that would be another way that we can implement or keep furthering this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the big thing, is just kind of always improving those systems that we have, and being able to have those conversations with kids. I think definitely recently that social emotional learning has become so important for students, that we have to have those emotions regulated. We have to be able to realize that our actions affect other students as well too, and adults as well.
Yeah.
And how to kind of figure out and navigate that.
And
That's a tough piece.
and I really want them to know that we and their teachers see them as real people. Even though we ask a lot of them every day, we want them to know that we care about them. We know that they are people, they're humans first.
Yeah.
And so I think that by doing this, it's not just to see, how they're feeling, but also them to know that, we care about you. We want to make sure that you're happy and healthy at school. So
yeah, absolutely. That's definitely one of the things. And just building that relationship.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any better way than just being able to relate to a student, and show that empathy towards them. I noticed that you're tired today, maybe you had a rough night last night, just didn't get any sleep, wasn't feeling good, whatever that happens to be. And then to be able to kind of show that empathy towards them is very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that could definitely, that will be in the back of their teacher's mind throughout the day. And so, they might just kind of pick their battles or give them a little extra understanding that day. And so, as a teacher, it's really helpful.
Yeah. And I think it's also good too to kind of bring those conversations to light, especially when we're coming up with parent-teacher conferences soon.
Yes.
I know a lot of parents are very concerned about, as my student making friends, how are they feeling throughout the day? And then this kind of gives us a snapshot of how they're coming in and what their day might look like.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that data that we collect during the school day too can reflect kind of how they're feeling during that day. Should be great.
Yeah, definitely. If kids are flying under the radar, like I said, not very outspoken, it's someone that we can, keep an eye on and make sure that we're reaching all kids in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be a fantastic thing. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is our Raider Badge program.
Yes.
So Raider Badges have been going on for a very long time. I think I've made, I was talking to somebody, I think 30,000 Raider Badges.
Wow.
In the course of this whole thing. So I'm a pro.
Yeah.
If you want to know how to make a button,
fast.
I'm your guy. I got it figured out. So, but a Raider Badges program is a fun, fantastic, kind of a broad sense of how to get achievements out to students. And it's based off of gamification. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically taking components from video games and bringing them into the classroom. And so one of the things video games are so good at is recognizing achievements by the players. And so you constantly get these little achievements that pop up here and there, and they're motivating. They feel good. They make you feel like you're doing something well. They kind of keep you motivated and going on. Video games have figured that out.
Yeah.
And that's why they're so popular. So bringing that into our PBIS model has been a fun experience.
Yes.
Especially because we just have a lot of excitement around it. The kids always get very excited about their Raider Badges. We just had our Raider Badge celebration for 1,000 Raider Badges, which was Zoo Day. Zoo Day was very fun. I guess I heard we had a giraffe running through the school.
A giraffe that about knocked down all the light fixtures.
Yeah, couldn't fit through the doors. I don't know. So anyways, it was fun. It was fun to do that, and we're going to have another one here coming up soon, just to celebrate that, class-wide. So whether you've earned 1 badge, 2 badges, or 15 to 20 badges, we all get to celebrate that because we celebrate each other, which is fun.
Yeah.
And I've got a special Raider badge just for tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Let
Thanks
me
for
show it to
watching.
you. Check this out. Boom, there it is. The South Curriculum Night badge. And there's
Look at
only
that.
one way to earn this badge.
How do you
Yes.
do that, Mr.
Well, that
Meyer?
is by watching this show right now.
Woohoo.
So what I do need you to do if you're on now is to just pop a little chat in there and say, hey, I'm here. This is my student. We're watching tonight, and we'll kind of keep track of that. And your child will get a Raider badge. Yeah,
and
you
they
get
will
your
be
curriculum
so
night badge.
excited about that.
It's super cool. Look at that. So we got the No Place Like South. I got the little Raider thing,
Curriculum night.
and I went with
They'll
green.
get to have it all.
I went with green. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll get to have it all year. They
Yeah.
get so excited about those when you pass them in the hallway and they're on their way to get a badge. It's like they're running. They're like, hi,
Oh yeah, I know.
skipping. There's, look, I got a badge. I got a badge.
Yep, I know.
Yeah.
Yep, got a whole stack of them to make up for tomorrow because of getting ready for this tonight and other things. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing. We'll keep catching up. Yeah, but so Raider badges is fantastic. They can earn Raider badges over pretty much anything that they do in here in school.
Yep.
We have specials badges. We have badges for academic achievements. We have badges for social emotional learning. We have badges for interactions with other people. We have badges for. I mean, you can think of
Losing
it.
a tooth.
Losing a tooth.
Losing
Learning how to tie your shoe.
Yes.
Sweeping rocks outside. That's another thing. They just
Yes.
love to do that, and that's such a great service, like that service-oriented learning. That's great. So yeah, you get a badge for that, of
All
course.
sorts of badges.
Yeah, we get all sorts of really cool badges for that. So yeah, you have got a chance to win a badge tonight, right there with that, which is pretty cool. So thank you, Ms. Cole, for joining us.
Yes,
You're
thank
not
you.
off the hook yet,
Oh gosh.
because we are going to do some giveaways.
Okay.
And if you don't like these giveaways, it's Miss Cole's fault. She's the one who did shopping this year. So anyways.
I think they're kind of awesome.
I think
I think you're like
there is
them.
too. Yeah, so our very first giveaway that we're going to be giving away, yep, is, I believe, yep, we're going to do this one. We're going to do first, we're going to do the Stitch Monopoly.
Stitch is all the rave these days.
Yeah.
Have you seen all the kids wearing the Stitch t-shirts and
I
the
have.
backpacks?
I know
And,
it, yeah.
Stitch is all the rave.
Is there like a
Stitch
movie that
Monopoly.
just came out or something, or is it just a
I
revival?
I don't know. And Ohana means family.
Oh,
You
look
can
at
play that with your family.
Oh,
It'll be
themed
great.
So well.
Yeah.
There we are. So we're gonna have the Stitch Monopoly game coming out. Here's how you're gonna win this. I have a video. Every year we've always done like a take home, like a play at home guide, and it's been baseball cards, it's been Pokemon cards with our staff on it. It's been all sorts of things. We did Dungeons and Dragons one year. We did all sorts of things. This year I did not have a take home guide.
Nope.
We did it in video form.
Yes, we did.
So we're going to see that. Our staff hasn't even seen this yet.
No.
I'm the only person who's seen this now. Parents are going to see this first.
first
Here's
time.
what I want to. So in the chat, while you watch this, if you know the inspiration behind the video that we created, which by the way, most of our staff did not.
It's going to be hard.
It's not. It's actually not hard at all. But I want you to put that in the chat and say, this is what the inspiration was. The first person to do that's going to win Monopoly Stitch. Okay? So here we go. Mr. Meyer, school principal, Shattern State College.
Miss Cole, school counselor, the University of Nebraska Kearney.
I'm Miss May, special education teacher, went to school at Northeastern State University.
Mrs. Ramsey, library and technology teacher, University of Nebraska at Kearney. Throw your lopes.
Dravonculus Burnside, PE teacher, Howard University.
Gina Reimers, first grade, Shattern State.
Sonny Schills, first grade teacher, WGU.
Misty Michaelman, music teacher, Hastings College.
I am Care Bear Brown. I went to Winona State University and I teach first grade.
Davontarius Greenleaf, science teacher, Stanford University.
Miss Carlson, first grade teacher, Shattern State College.
I'm Mrs. Heller, first grade, Western Nebraska Community College, University of Texas Arlington, University of Northern Colorado, University of Phoenix, and American College of Education.
Jamillion Shropshire, second grade teacher, University of Miami, Ohio.
Miss Blevins, third grade teacher, Shattern.
Zendaya Frost, lunch lady, Princeton.
Miss Haroon, third grade, UNK.
Nymphetta Washington, Duke University, music teacher.
Mrs. Dickman, third grade, Spring Arbor University.
Tyroldus Flanders, Spanish teacher, University of Toronto.
Miss Larson, third grade teacher, Shattern State College.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Whitty. I am the speech therapist at South, and I went to the University of Nebraska at Kearney.
Mrs. Guth, second grade teacher, Indiana University.
Jennifer Schneider, Instructional Coach, University of Nebraska, Kearney.
Mrs. Lee, 2nd grade, Chadron State College.
Quintarius Uptown, all grades, University of Florida.
Mrs. Holtz, 2nd grade, Colorado Christian University.
Shaquella Barnes, Recess, Spelman College.
My name is Mr. Dorsey. I'm a PE teacher. I graduated from Chadron State College.
Ann Ballou, University of Nebraska, Kearney, making superstars for the last 42 years.
Ron Garvey, inner city substitute teacher, University of Everywhere. All right, hey, we're back.
Hello.
Let's see if we have some good guesses for this one. I'm hoping so. These were our stars from the South in our little, our little fun video that we had there. I'll actually put out a little better one on YouTube. We have a fun gag reel with it and just a little more of an intro with it. So that was just a little teaser of that. But
that was very entertaining.
Yeah, wanted to get that out there. We had a lot of fun doing that one. It was great. So we did that last Friday. Had a little staff had come in and they wore jerseys to kind of do that. So I don't want to give it away yet until we actually have a guest, but we'll do that now. So joining us now, we have Tess Plummer. Tess Plummer is our Director of Curriculum and Instruction. She is actually a district-wide position, but does help and aid us in quite a few things. And so, what are some of the things that you do? Like the many trillion different things that you do?
A lot of problem solving. I'd say a lot of my job revolves around just kind of putting out fires with our curriculum, the different products we utilize, trying to help teachers with strategies in the classroom, trying to help with all the different needs of our students that we have, just a variety of things, but really just try to be available to help in any way I can.
Absolutely, yeah, and assessment's one of those things, so we have to definitely help through there. That's kind of a big part of schools, it just is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, curriculum, instruction, those sorts are curriculum purchases. So as a school district, we look about every 7 years at possibly making a change with our curriculum that we have. Usually it's based off of state standards. Those things get changed and modified and adapted as the years go on. So this year we're looking at...
We are hopefully looking at science this year. The state just made minor changes to the science standards, and those were just adopted at the beginning of September. Our science curriculum department has been amazing. They've been breaking them down, making sure that they know what the changes are and how to implement them, but really just leaving it to the content experts and kind of guiding them through that process of making sure that they know what standards they need to teach. With that goes a curriculum purchase every so often. So they're kind of in the process of looking at potential new curriculum for their science.
Yeah, absolutely. And those curriculum purchases, those are big purchases.
They are.
And so, anytime we're using taxpayer dollars for things like that, we want to make sure that we're getting what's best for students.
Yes.
And making sure that it aligns the best way with the curriculum. We've got a little helper here. Anyway, so yeah, we do those sorts of things. So we usually have a rep from every grade level that's able to kind of look through the curriculum and kind of decide and discuss. And so it's not just one person. That's not falling on you. No. That kind of works as a whole team.
Yep, definitely rely on the experts. Oh my goodness, the fly is bothering me. Rely on those science or whatever content area experts. They're the ones every day in and out working with kids, so they need to be a major contributing piece to what curriculum we utilize and purchase in those major purchases that we do.
Yeah, and when we get that curriculum, it's a commitment. And so we can stay with that for roughly 7 years, unless something is just not working right. But we really do put a lot of time and effort into making sure that works the right way. Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of big picture stuff. Now let's talk specifically towards South, because we have parents here from 1st grade all the way up through 3rd grade. And so the thing that I wanted you to come on here and talk about was assessments. So we have a lot of assessments that we do throughout the school year. And they're different. It's kind of interesting here at South, where we kind of have a different assessment for every grade level.
You do.
And so now, we have some parents out there who, so we have some 3rd grade parents that have been, this is their 3rd year of watching our virtual curriculum night. They have a new set of standard or assessments that they're going through this year. We have 1st grade parents who maybe this is their first time of watching this, if they didn't have an older sibling perhaps. And so then, we have to talk about those assessments as well too. So let's start with reading.
Okay.
So reading, we have what's called Acadience, and Acadience is a screener. And so what does that mean? It's a screener?
Yes. So it's a universal reading screener, and it assesses different things, whether it's letter naming fluency, words correct per minute, oral reading fluency, all different things, just to kind of make sure we can pinpoint what exact areas our students need support in and intervention in.
Yeah. And the big part of that is since it's a screener.
Yes,
this
absolutely.
is not the end-all be-all. So if
No.
our student doesn't score well on that, it doesn't mean that they're a terrible reader or they're behind or anything
No,
like that.
it
It's
just-
just
yep.
it's just something that's going to pique our interest to make
Mhm.
sure that we have those skills and we end up using
Yep.
those interventions or whatever we need to make that work. And so, yeah, so first grade we do a lot of like kind of isolated
Mhm.
sounds. So we do a lot of like what's called nonsense word
Yep.
fluency. We do letter naming fluency,
Mhm.
and then we touch on at the very end of the year oral reading fluency.
Yes.
And then that's kind of the big one that carries on through second and third grade as well,
Mm-hmm.
too. But it's kind of interesting because it does change. It changes mid-year for first grade, and then second grade starts with a couple of extra screeners and the
Mhm.
oral reading fluency, and then third grade is just the oral reading fluency.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting. So those things change as you go. So as you look at those reports, you'll notice that some screeners drop off, and then others get added on to it.
Yep.
One of the big things with the oral reading fluency is the accuracy.
Yes.
So we want our students to read fast, but even almost more
Yes.
importantly, we want them to read accurately.
Yes, those words correct are very, very important with how a student rates and what interventions we put into place for those students.
Absolutely, you're right. And so our curriculum, so our phonics curriculum, for
Mhm.
instance, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on with a couple other guests,
Yes.
but that does lead right into those kind of a word
Mhm.
attack skills. So even if it's a word that they don't know, they have skills to go ahead and get after that, which is fun. So, so that's kind of our reading screener that we have. Then next we have our NWEA map.
Yes.
So we have map growth. We have that for first grade and then also second grade.
Mhm.
And so that's a little bit different than a screener is. So tell us a little bit about what that
So
is.
NWEA MAP, we utilize it for math and for reading, and it's an adaptive assessment. So what that means is as kids take the assessment, if they are doing really well, it's going to start throwing in a few more challenging questions. If they're struggling, it's going to kind of back them back down. But in the end, it's all based off of our grade level standards. So it's going to kind of give us a very good picture of where kids are and also where they can go, where they're ready to go. Which gives teachers great information so they can kind of guide their instructional strategies within their classroom for each individual student. If a kid's ready for the next level, they're going to give it to them. If they need some additional interventions, some supplemental pieces, they're going to have that information at their fingertips because it is adaptive. And within that map, you're going to get what is called a RIT score. So it's a number, and that's based off of that grade level RIT. And so that would be something on a report that a parent would see. So you can kind of see that on the report. And that also ties in with our achievement percentile, which is kind of a ranking with how your student did with other students in that grade level who
Yeah.
also took that assessment.
And it is a nationally normed
Yes, it
test, so
is.
there's plenty and plenty of
Mhm.
data that could, is used to compare your student
Yes.
to other students, not only in Sydney, but kind of across the nation.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so when you see that percentile, you have a really good idea of
Mhm.
really where that student is at achievement-wise. And what's important to remember about that is when we think about something called the bell curve,
Mhm.
which is kind of this weird shaped thing, but most of the population is going to fit within that middle.
Right.
And so when you're looking at percentiles, that kind of is about the 35th percentile, 40th percentile, all the way up to like the 70th is
Yes.
where most people are going to be at. So you might see that and think 40th percentile, oh, my student is just not doing well. We always think that 50th is it, but it's just not the case with MAP.
No, it is
So,
not.
you're within that normal range. And another thing to remember is that our level assessments, they're hard.
Right.
They're hard for students. The student might have a rough day. And so we try to do the best that we can to make those assessments important to them.
Absolutely.
So that we get good, valid data. And so, you'll see goal setting for our students that we do. You'll see a post by me that says, hey, we have MAP testing tomorrow, so let's make sure we get a good night's sleep, get a good breakfast so they can do their
Right.
best. And that's really because we want them not only to do their best, but we want reliable, valid data so that we know what's working in our district, what's not working in our district, what's working in the classroom, what's not. And that kind of all peels back to curriculum purchases,
Right.
standards that we look at. It kind of all goes together.
Absolutely, it
So we
does.
want that valid data. So now the difference is here, this is where it kind of gets a little funny, is first grade is what's under the K2 map growth test. This is a test that, for the most part, everything is read to the student.
Yes.
Now, there are some students that do get some stories or they get some questions that they have to read on their own because it's adaptive, and so it's gotten harder for them. But for the most part, it's read to them.
Right.
So stamina is not as much of an issue with their K2 test. Now, second grade is when it flips.
Yes.
And they have to read it all on their own. Unless they have some accommodations in place, they're on their own. And so in the fall, when they first take that test, boy, it is hard. There's a lot of reading. Some of those passages, especially when we get up into higher levels, there are multiple pages.
Yes.
And so it's why it's so important that they get good night's sleep, they get a good breakfast, have that fuel in their body to test. It is not timed.
No,
This is not a timed test. They can take as long as they need to.
Yes.
And we have some students who take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And they just do. We have some students who breeze right through it. It's just one of those things that's kind of everybody takes their own speed at it.
And especially with that second grade test, I think it's super important to just kind of pay attention to the growth, the potential growth for a student. Sometimes those second grade scores can kind of give us a good picture of where students are at, but also just where they're going to be when we test in the winter and then again in the spring. We're just going to be able to really see that awesome growth from our kids.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So fall data has already been shared out. It's been sent home.
Yes.
If you didn't get a copy of that, make sure you please just give us an email or a dojo message and we can get that taken care of. But that was sent home. We'll do it again in January, and then we'll do it again probably end of April, start of May-ish is kind of that last window that we'll hit for that.
Absolutely.
And those 3 tests do a great job of really showing that progress, where students are at and where they're going. So now, third grade is yet another test, right? So, yes, what do we start doing in third grade?
We start doing INSCUS, which is the Nebraska Student-Centered Assessment System.
Great job with that.
I know. I got my acronym down. Had to memorize that. No.
Yeah.
So that is our state assessment. It starts in grade 3, and it's grades 3 through 8, and then also grade 11. Where the state utilizes our assessment data for their chosen assessment, and that goes towards our school accountability rating.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is even new for me because we've always just had second grade and first grade at South, and so now bringing in third grade, this has been something fun to learn about as well, and kind of knowing about this prior to, but actually being able to get in there and actually see it's been fantastic. So the state of Nebraska has done kind of a different thing that they kind of want to make a state assessment that's focused on grade level standards.
Yes.
So that's primarily what our INSCUS does, is it focuses on grade level standards. And so you're going to see a different score or a different kind of output of that based off of what they're looking for. So they have kind of an on level benchmark, and it stays the same throughout the entire year.
Yes.
And so what we want to do is we want to get our students to that point or further is what we're looking for. It's not a moving target like with MAP.
Right.
MAP is so that those percentiles change. So even if you score the same percent or the same RIT score each time, they'll drop in percentiles. That's not the way the INSCUS is set up.
Nope. So we do INSCUS growth for fall and winter. So those are a little bit adaptive, but the specific questions that the state pulls remain the same amount for each of those. And then we do a INSCUS summative in the spring, which is just those on grade level questions. So that's going to give us our overall data for our rating.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you'll see on that report is not only your RIT score, but you're also going to see what is called a scale score. And it's going to be the 3 different categories that will be built within that. And that's your developing, your on track, or your advanced.
Yeah. Exactly. So they do have that little piece that's adaptive in there, and so you'll see that as well.
Yes.
And so it's just a smaller sample size.
Yes.
And so instead of that full 40 to 44 questions that they'll take, it's more around that like 13 to 15 range.
Yes. So the on grade level stuff in the spring is going to be around 27 questions.
Yep, there you go.
And then your adaptive piece is going to be the remainder of the questions. And usually you don't go over 40 questions, but it can be adaptive. So sometimes more, sometimes less.
Yeah. So we're talking about 40 questions. That's a lot. It is a lot, definitely, especially because some of our students really do take their time and read that, which is great.
Yes.
But again, it helps. The INSCUS is also not timed.
Nope.
And so those kids can take their time and make sure that they read through questions. And that's definitely what we encourage. So that's excellent. And so then you touched on a little bit with our district rating.
Yes.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit about how our assessment scores go into that, and what were we rated at last year?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. So as a district last year, we were rated as excellent, which is the highest category you can get.
Excellent. And is that like a Bill and Ted's excellent?
Yes, it absolutely is.
I bet there's no parents out there that even know what I just said. Although they did remake it.
I
It wasn't
know
very
what it
long
is.
ago. I know
I'm
you
a
know what it
parent.
is. Yeah. You good.
There
I
we
don't feel
go.
quite as old.
I count on
Most
that
of
one.
my references like just go over everybody's head.
Really?
Yeah. That's how you know you're getting old. Is
They
when
need
every
to
reference
They need
that
to
you
watch
give.
better movies then.
Well, right. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry. I derailed you there.
So AQuest, our rating was excellent. So what goes into that is our INSCA scores, and based off of what percent are proficient. Attendance rates go into that, discipline rates go into that, graduation rates go into that. It's really just an overall picture of your district. They are looking to add some more personal pieces into that, like your career readiness program, your transitions, your teacher professional development, things like that. But right now it's pretty basic with those data points, and you get a point or a minus point or just a level grade for each of those categories, and that's how we get our rating at the end of each year. And actually we don't get that rating until November of the next year.
Yes. So we don't know what we are
Not until November.
for this year yet.
So hopefully
But we're still riding that excellent wave.
we are going to keep going with that.
This
Yes.
is awesome. Okay, very good. Before I have you go,
Yes.
we're going to do our next prize giveaway. This time around, and I need to give away our other prize too. What we have here? All right, Monopoly Stitch. This was won by Matt Mabin, whose child is Estes in first grade.
Congratulations, Estes.
Matt, you're my man. He realized or knew, or at least guessed first, that our inspiration for our video was Key and Peele.
Nice.
The East-West Bowl. If you haven't checked that out, you should. It's hilarious. It's funny. So we tried to emulate that a little bit, throwing a couple extra people in there. And as a matter of fact, the extra people is our question. So let's see how well you were paying attention to that video. How many extra teachers did we have in the video? That's the question. So I didn't even tell you that. It was just to see if you're paying attention. So how many extra teachers did we have in the video? And I'm not going to show it again. You just have to guess.
They just have to guess.
Yep.
Best guess.
Yep. By the way, Mrs. Lee is running our moderator. She's our moderator on the chats right now, and so I'm sure she's been interacting with you a little bit. If we're pretty far away, she may have to give a hot, cold, low, or high or something like that, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So if you can give that away, I didn't even tell you what you're going to win. Oh my goodness, this is probably going to be a little bit invisible. Sure is. Look at that. You can see through it. Anyways, yes, we're going to play the Pickleball Blast game with actual pickles on there. Look at that. How about that? That's Miss Cole for you right there. She picked this one out for you. So Pickleball Blast for the first person to guess how many extra teachers we had. And as a bonus, put your favorite one on there. Who's your favorite extra character? All right? We all know it's going to be me.
Yeah.
You know it's unfair because I did like
I think I saw like 4 or 5 of yours.
There was most of them mine. Most of them were mine.
So higher than that.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Miss Porter, for coming on and joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You betcha. And we're going to bring in our next guests. And we have two. We have two guests here. Here they come, wheeling over a chair. We have Mrs. Schneider.
Hello.
A longtime participant on Virtual Curriculum Night. She is our instructional coach. And we also have Emily Zwern.
Hello.
Also a repeat Curriculum Night person. She is our title
Am I
teacher.
too close to you? So sorry. No, don't. Excuse us.
That's all right. We're all good. Okay. All right. So, ladies, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
I appreciate you guys being voluntold again to
Yes.
come and join us. Yeah, we have some volunteers, and we have some people who are like, hey, you're going to be on there again, and then they just do it. So it's awesome.
Here we are.
And here they
Love
are.
it.
With a smile.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yes. You should see them behind the camera. No, I'm just kidding. They're fantastic. Always professional. Okay, so we're going to discuss reading a little bit, okay, which is like we do every year. Reading is a big deal. We're lower elementary. We have something called the reading bill.
Yeah.
And so we had letters that were sent home. Mrs. Schneider, do you want to talk just briefly about kind of what that is? There's a lot of information in that letter. If you read it, you already know this stuff, but just tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, it's just part of the reading bill, like you said. It's the the Nebraska Reading Improvement Act, and it was established in 2019. And it just kind of shows that we're following everything through that bill.
Yeah.
That we're testing students and taking a preventative approach and screening them to see who needs extra supports and providing those supports, and letting parents know if their child is below, grade level standard and they need additional supports.
So one of the things is like a lot of parents, every parent has to get this letter.
Yes.
So whether your student is on track or below level, whatever, it doesn't matter. We have to send that letter to everybody. What was also interesting is when this bill was enact in 2019, it really didn't change anything that we did.
No,
because we
we had
do
it
all
all in
the
place.
things. The only thing that it changed for us is to send the letter home and then
More
to send the extra
formalized.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all it really was for us. We do all those extra things already. We monitor that data. We put our interventions in place, and we just kind of have a plan to how to get that. But it's important. And our politicians, our local state senators, they know that reading is a big deal. And so
truly
that's
is.
why this bill passed, and it wasn't just a thing to just brag about and say, but it's truly that Nebraska is serious about making sure students are learning how to read, and which is good, and that's what we should do. And that reading bill goes all the way up through third grade.
Third grade.
That is where, right. So once your students move on to West next year, those reading letters, that sort of things, it's not going to come home anymore. They do the same stuff. Nothing's going to change. The supports are going to stay the same, but just that formalization is just not going to be is real there. We're also a title school. Which is why we have Mrs. Wern for us here.
Yes.
So Mrs. Wern, one of her big jobs is to give interventions for students, to help students who are at risk.
Yep.
And what are the other million things that you do? Kind of what are the big key areas?
So definitely making sure that if they are falling below that grade level, we progress monitor throughout the month, and we can kind of see like how are those students doing, and if they fall below, then I can provide some interventions for them and help them out.
Yeah. So how do we keep track? How do we even know what's going on? How do we know students are making it or not making it?
Well, based off of that screener at the beginning of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
We'll throwback.
yes.
Yeah.
We identify those kids.
Yes.
And then we use progress monitoring. It's just like a 1 minute read or 1 minute whatever scale they're on. If it's nonsense word fluency for words read correct in first grade, or the oral reading fluency in second and third.
Yep.
We monitor their progress weekly, and then it's all computerized, and we have like a trend line for them, and then we monitor their progress off of that to see if they're making adequate growth towards, where they need to be to make up
gains to get them back to where
exactly.
they need to be.
the learning to be.
So now if I'm a parent out there, I'm saying, well, how do I know if my student is being progress or monitored or not?
Well, if they're on a read plan, they are being progress monitored.
That's part of the letter.
Yep. Everybody on a read plan, we are watching to make sure they're making gains.
And we also send reports home.
Yes.
So if your student is doing progress monitoring and we keep that data, that data should be shared. And so we do. We don't share it every single week just because that would be pretty cumbersome. But we do about every 6 to 8 weeks. We started the progress monitoring 3-4 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Yeah, about 3 weeks ago.
This is our 4th week. So 4 weeks,
yeah. And so it's kind of important to kind of wait.
Yeah.
We do need to see kind of a trend.
Yeah.
And so, there's
4
a
to 6
couple of
data
those screeners.
points.
Yeah, so we get to 4 to 6 data points, and you can actually kind of get an idea of kind of where we're at. And then we do, if a student is struggling, we have some additional meetings to kind of help them out, whether that's Mrs. Wern taking over some extra time with that student, or maybe we're just changing around some instruction or things in the classroom. Those sorts of things. But problem solving, it's a big thing. It's a big thing for reading here. So talking a little bit about reading at South, and I alluded to this earlier as we were talking about kind of some of our reading things. Sunday phonics. Sunday phonics is a big thing for us.
It really is.
Tell us a little bit about that and kind of some of the highlights of what that does for us.
Sure. It's our structured phonics program, and it's really it provides the foundation for literacy for your kids. It's the essentials of reading and spelling words. So we teach them, we can, I guess, model it a little bit if we want.
Go for it.
We teach them at the early stages.
It's exciting.
It's truly
I usually
exciting.
throw the curveballs, they're throwing me ones.
Teach them to isolate the individual sounds in spoken language. So if we're talking about the word cat, we'll be basic here. We have them isolate the sounds. So at, 3 sounds in that word. So then we teach them to match those sounds up to the letters that represent those sounds in written language. So the C represents the K, the A represents the A, and the T, or T represents the T sound. So, and then it builds on and they get much more advanced, the patterns and skills. And then we get into syllable types in 2nd grade and 3rd grade, and just follows them all the way up. And we monitor their progress in that as well.
Oh yeah, we absolutely do.
Yes.
About every week.
Yes.
And that's all students, not just students who are struggling.
Yep.
That's every student. And they have what's called a mastery check. And so you might hear that. A long time ago when I was in school, we had spelling lists, and you took them home and you memorized them, and your mom quizzed you over them all the time, and then you went to school, and then you forgot to study in 1 week, and so you bombed a test, and anyways, those are gone, right?
Absolutely.
This is all applied spelling. So what's the difference between applied spelling and then those old traditional spelling lists that we do? So talk a little bit about that mastery check.
Well, you
Sure.
It's go for it.
Together.
We spend a lot of time together,
Yeah.
me and Jen.
Yeah.
So basically, mastery checks are over the skills that they've been taught throughout the week. And we don't send those traditional spelling tests home anymore because research shows that we can't actually memorize that many words in our word bank. And so we actually have to map them in our brain. And so doing that applied spelling is how we're going to get our students to be able to read as many words as they need to be able to read. And that's one way to check to see if those skills have been implanted into their brain.
Yeah.
And it's very systematic, as in it like reviews those skills. Like it introduces one, and then it just keeps reviewing and adding more as they're ready, and
Building those
spiraling
repetitions
back
in.
so they.
Yep. Yeah, so we don't have the days of the week spelling list anymore.
We do
Oh my
not.
gosh, I hated that one. And then like the capitals. Do you ever do that one too?
Yeah.
You just spell capitals? Who would do that? That's crazy.
Nope, that's
I don't know.
not
So
how
that's
our
all
brains
gone.
learn.
Yeah, that's all gone. It is. It doesn't work. And if you remember back, if you did those as well, if you're an old parent like myself, you memorize those for that week, and then poof, they were gone. The next one came in, and you don't remember them anymore. You know, that's just kind of what it is. And so this is a different way of bringing that about, and it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Which
Storing
is good.
that information.
Yes, absolutely. It's all good stuff.
Yep.
Okay, last thing, let's talk about what we can do at home to help with reading. Because we're kind of at a cusp here. I mean, do we want to send a bunch of reading stuff home? Not necessarily. We really value home time. And like, this is a great time. And I really appreciate that you guys are spending that time tonight to kind of listen to us on our curriculum stuff that we're talking about. But really, family time should be family time at home.
Yeah.
But I do know that there's some parents out there would love to help their child out. So what are some ways that we can do that at home?
So one of the biggest ways that we've discussed is reading with your student. Reading with your student, it doesn't matter what kind of text you're reading, read to them.
Do they have to read? Do parents have to read?
Both ways can really be beneficial.
You can't go wrong.
No, either way, read with your kid.
Yep.
So you're either building that background knowledge, if you're reading to them, giving them that vocabulary to have, that knowledge that they can attach to. Yep. And then if the student's reading, then they have that opportunity to decode through those words and really understand how they can read.
Yep, absolutely.
So pointing out those irregular words too, if you see any of those are words that might have a sound in them that don't really play by the rules.
Yeah.
It's another really good tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just fun.
It is.
It just really is fun. It's a fun thing to do. And then when you read stuff, you can just ask a couple questions about it. You know, what their characters were. What's the problem? What about this? You know, that sorts of things. All good stuff. All great stuff to do. And, perfect segue, that leads right into our next giveaway. I have two things to give away here, and I'm actually going to do this the right order this time. Actually, no, I'm not, because I just already forgot. So I'm going to give away the prize for the last one first, and then we'll do that. So I promise this is not an invisible box, but it just looks that way because there's lots of green on it. We have Jordan and Leyland, our winners of our pickleball. They guessed we had 9 extra teachers in the video. I'm pretty sure I did at least 5 of them. But hopefully you also shared your favorite one, which is awesome too. So so Lauren and Jordan and Leyland, enjoyed those things here.
Nice.
I have another thing. This is also probably going to be invisible here. Part of it is.
Just a little bit.
Not the whole thing. Like
It
the
looks
dark.
a little rotten, but
That looks a little weird. This is actually an avocado.
Yeah.
Squishmallow. Those are like the rage.
They are.
You guys have these at home?
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, here's the thing. I have them at home too.
Oh.
Not for my kids.
Okay.
Not for me. For my dog.
they make the dog bed now.
No kidding.
They make a Squishmallow dog bed.
Oh.
Tell my family that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I have to tell them every time we go to Walmart. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
we're not buying another one.
Yeah,
But they
me
actually
too.
work really good because they don't rip them up. And I've got a big Great Dane, and she's a big old idiot. And so anyway, so she tears some stuff up. And so these are great. They're great toys for them. This one is, I promise, not see-through. And then we also have another food. Miss Cole was hungry when she went there, so I guess didn't have some lunch today. We have a stack of pancakes. Look at that. A stack of pancakes with the butter on the top even. Look at that.
So cute.
I thought it was a
Fuzzy.
bumblebee at first. No, it's a stack of pancakes.
Yep.
A stack of pancakes, and we've got an avocado. That's what we're going to give away. So we have 2 winners. 2 winners, okay? So our 2 winners, here's what you have to do. You need to tell us your favorite read aloud story. It could be from when you were a kid, or it can be what you love to read to your kids.
Okay.
And you get bonus points if there's like sentimental value with this. What was your favorite story to be read to when you were a kid? I put you right on the spot. I'll
Yeah,
go
you did.
first. Sorry.
Okay,
So my favorite, you think, and so I'll tell you. One of my favorite stories is actually it was a story Tom Sawyer.
Oh.
And no, it didn't come out when I was a kid. It had been out for a long time. But my parents had like this old set of books, and Tom Sawyer was one of them. And the reason why I loved it was this. I was like in probably first or second grade. And my mom's reading this to me, and she's like, why am I reading this? You should read this. And I was like, I can't read this. She's like, yes, you can. So I picked it up, and I could. It was like the first time I realized, I can read big books. I can read big books. So that's like the one I remember the most. And Tom Sawyer is such a good story.
Yeah, it's a
you
great
know,
one.
such a good story. Anyway, so that's my favorite story. But how about you, ladies?
Mine.
It could be
sentimental.
who you
It
read
is.
to your kids too. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I'm going back to my childhood.
yeah.
My grandma used to read me Little Drummer Boy.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's
She
awesome.
did the little rat-a-tat-tat with
Oh,
it.
nice.
Cute.
Oh, that's so
Nice touch. Love
cool. Oh, beat that, Mrs. Warren.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably Harry Potter.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah, we did lots
Yep.
of read alouds, and we would
Yeah.
sit and we would read a book. And
Yeah.
I have an older sister, so she would read it to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so probably Harry Potter. Pretty much all of them. Yeah.
And that was when you were a kid.
Yes, you're
Holy
welcome.
cow. Jeez, I was like, maybe you read
Oh,
that to your
yeah.
kids. Nope, it's when she was a kid.
Yep, that's when I was a kid.
She was a kid. Get off the stage, Mrs. Warren. All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Makes me
you,
feel
ladies, for
young.
showing up with us tonight and talking a little bit about reading. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Excellent
Thanks for
work.
having
Thank you
us,
very
Mrs.
much.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
before I bring our next guests on,
Oh,
you
oh.
guys can go ahead and
Okay.
go. You're
Oh,
fine.
sorry.
You're free. You're
I thought
free.
that was
I've
our
freed you
segue.
there. Before we bring our next guest on, I have a sponsor. So tonight's show, this is awesome. Yeah, we're going big time. We actually have real sponsors and everything. Tonight's show is brought to you by Pull It Forward Flakes. That's right. Parents, do you ever find yourself asking, how far should I pull forward in the drop-off line? Well, worry no more. Introducing Pull It Forward Flakes. Pull It Forward Flakes says, if you would just pull all the way up, that would be great. It's part of a balanced breakfast for parents who pull all the way up during drop-off. Just pull forward. Trust us. Everyone will thank you. Look at that. There we go. Our sponsor. That's so awesome, isn't it? I can't believe we're going big time here. This is virtual curriculum night has gone on so long that we have like actual real sponsors. That's an actual real series. Wonderful. Yeah. All right. So next up, we have a couple of ladies that are going to be joining us. We have Mrs. Brower and also Mrs. Brown. Come on over, ladies. So first up, we have Mrs. Brown. Mrs. Brown is also an experienced virtual curriculum night. Sucker. She comes on all the time. And Mrs. Brower, also another one who's on. She was on last year as well, too. Yeah,
But
look
I
at
heard
that.
a jeans pass was in here.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. My goodness. Okay, so anyways, yeah, thank you ladies for joining us. Mrs. Brown is the first grade teacher. Mrs. Brower is the second grade teacher. We're going to kind of lump you together, and then we're going to talk about third grade in a little bit. But first I want to talk a little bit specifically about, we talked a lot about reading, but that's not all we teach. Now we teach other things too. So let's talk about those things. Let's start with math. So talking about math, ladies, what's our curriculum? What does it do? Kind of what's the big thing with it?
Well, I guess first grade. In first grade, we work a lot with relationships, number sense, strategies, coming up with lots of different ways to solve a problem, and what kind of works for you? What works best for this problem? There might be a better strategy to pick for that. So we work on all of those things, place value. We get toward the end of the year, we get into some money and telling time, and
Yeah, and we kind of elaborate on those same skills. So we take those, basic number sense skills, and we elaborate on them with much bigger numbers. Same with place value. You guys start with much smaller place value, and we elaborate into the thousands with those. So same types of skills, but on a bigger basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those are big things. And our curriculum is called Zern.
Yes.
Zern Math. It's set up in a really kind of cool way where you guys teach a lesson, a concept, and then they get that extra practice on the digital component.
Yes.
And that's big. That's important. Mainly because, digital content, it's not going away. We have to have our students that can interact with and not just watch and zone out, but actually do things with. And it's super helpful to kind of help them through problems. It pops in there with interventions if they're struggling with a certain concept. It alerts you as well.
Right.
And that's what's kind of the big thing for us. And so that setup of that lesson is excellent.
Yeah, and it also gives acceleration for kids who need that as well, so which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we kind of use that in tandem with another program called ScoopPad. We use ScoopPad like crazy. ScoopPad is basically for ELA and math. I think we use it very well in math, and we're starting to kind of implement that into ELA as well too. But it's also that digital curriculum kind of supplement
Right.
So it's not the teaching part, it's more of the exposure to, it has some teaching videos that go along with that.
Sure.
But we're able to do something which is amazing, is reach kids on their level.
Right.
And so can you guys talk a little bit about how that does that and what kind of ways we get that accomplished?
Well, with ScoopPad?
With
ScoopPad, it adapts to the student, and if the student is struggling with a concept, it'll say, time out to learn. And they'll get a little video, and then they'll put them right back into it. And if they still are struggling with that, then I get an alert on my computer. And then I know I need to do a real quick power lesson with that student to make sure that they're understanding, and then I can also reassign. And so I can assign, I can say, you know what, we're going to cover that really well in about 2 weeks. We're going to just pause that concept, that skill for about 2 weeks, pop you into this one over here, and we'll get back to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's great for like our second grade students, especially when they have gone from taking maps where it's read to them, and now they're having to take something without. It really helps to reinforce a lot of those skills that they see on that test, and it adapts to their score. So that really helps help boost those kids and confidence to take that.
Yeah, so we use those map scores to put in and make it what's called a learning path, and that's really based off the student's ability. And so what's really nice about that is our Zern is focused on grade level content, because that's one of our most important things. We have to teach grade level standards. But then we have some students who are above. We have some students who are below. How do we reach them? We don't reach them with the general content. No, we have to get them in other ways. And so ScoopPad's one of those ways that we can do that. And so that's, when we talk about growth, this is one of the best ways of doing that. It's just really giving them an extra practice. So if they need some skills, we can get them in there. If they're ready to advance on and try harder stuff, they can do that too. It's amazing. We have some second graders and even some first graders that get into some pretty high grade level content. So they're in third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade material, and they're working on some fun stuff. Just getting that exposure to it, getting a try. And what we found is that Zern does a great job of teaching that foundation to give them the skills to attack anything they want. And the confidence to do that.
And to take some risks. And give it a try.
Not be afraid.
Right.
They're numbers. We can take it. We can take them on. That's the great stuff. So let's talk a little bit about science and social studies. What does that look like in first and second grade?
A little bit of science. Again, I think Tess mentioned that we were looking into the new state standards this year. I happen to be on the science committee. And the science, I really do like our standards. They are great standards for just digging into some things that these kids can handle, some high level thinking. So the standards are very specific and the kids can dig into them. We do both learning and getting the vocabulary, the content, the knowledge base, and then we apply it in a science lab. So if kiddos come home and say, we had science lab today, this is what we did, and we just take small groups and do some hands-on activities, exploration. We're working on sound right now, sound waves, and how do you explore something you can't see? So
and social studies is very similar. The program is really great at digging into really specific content, but then also that makes it really realistic for kids to understand. So like, for example, right now we're working on needs and wants, and it's got a really great way between like our text, but then also on our slides to really get kids to understand, what things we're really focusing on for that category.
And one thing I definitely want to shout out to our state, because our standards have changed quite a bit since even when I was first starting to teach. It's less on the specific things, it's more broad range. And so especially when we talk about science, it's the what are you as a scientist? Thinking like a scientist, exploring things, not being afraid. So it's a hands-on fun stuff, and not so much of the memorization of something or this is the project that we do. But that fun stuff is nice. Absolutely. Definitely though, the big focus for first and second grade, reading and math. Those are some of the big things. They dominate our schedule, which is important. We, just like I said with the read bill that we have to teach reading. We have to be in there. Math, so foundational, so important, to get a good base for those students. And I think you'd be kind of pleased to see, we all build together. And so those scores that you see as your student progresses all the way up through 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, that foundation, that starts here. And we have to have a solid foundation, because you certainly can't get very high without that. So that's kind of what we're starting at. That's what we're focused on. So.
And I love that it focuses in on memorization.
Absolutely.
That limits you so much. But when you learn how to problem solve, attack a word, looking at comprehension, all of that, the kids, they really can fly high.
They can. Absolutely, very much so. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
fantastic. Yeah, we've got one final guest. You guys are free to go.
Okay.
I have one
sounds
more prize
great.
giveaway, but I'm not going to do it yet. So I'll tell you here in a second. All right, our next person up. Somebody new to South, because we have, like I said, we changed. We added third grade to South. We're now first through third grade. So we're going to have our third grade teacher. This is Kim Larson. Come on in here, Kim. Miss Larson teaches third grade here at South. How are you today?
I'm well. How
She's
are
a
you?
brand new to virtual curriculum nights.
I am. This is just wonderful.
It is. It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Not yet.
Yeah, I know. No, of course not.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about third grade and how some differences
Yes.
Between first and second grade and then third grade and kind of what that looks like. So first thing is, our students use Chromebooks.
Yes, they do.
First and second grade, we are iPads. We've
Right.
always been iPads, but third grade is kind of when we transition over to that
Yes.
Chromebook thing. And so talk a little bit about, like, what's that look like? Is that kind of a big learning curve for those kids, or they handle it pretty well?
That's a huge learning curve because they have to learn to sign in, first dot last name,
Oh, yeah.
and then their passwords.
Yep.
And they also need to learn the trackpad.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge thing, and it's not touch screen.
Yep.
And we always want to touch our screen.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and then we have to go over just general care of electronics too, and
Yep.
that they are responsible for plugging it in,
Yep.
carrying it in a case,
Yeah.
doing things like that. And then we're also learning about tabs.
Yeah.
Like not having too many open because
Oh, man.
that logs us down.
Yeah.
Or you need to open a new tab and sometimes refreshing.
Yep.
So we're learning all those terms also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a big learning curve for those kiddos. But yeah, so we start with our Google Apps for
Yes.
Education account in third grade. They start it and they work on it a little bit in second grade. Missus Ramsey does a great job of kind of introducing those things and getting them started with that so
Right.
they can kind of hit the ground running a little bit. But yeah, definitely a big learning curve for them. One of the benefits, though, they have a full keyboard because as we get into third grade, we're going to do more typing, more writing, that
Lots
sorts
more.
of things, and getting used to that is big. And
Yes.
It's important. But yeah, using the trackpad or using a mouse. Yeah, we kind of take it for granted. Like we just always have
Right.
done it. And students, it just doesn't make sense to them.
No.
They want to touch the screen.
They want to
wanna
touch the
mess-
screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
Yeah.
we also are learning with that a little bit too, on how to turn in assignments on Google Classroom.
Yeah.
We're teaching them that because, of course, they'll be doing that throughout their
Yeah.
rest of their school career.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a big part of that is just that extra
Right.
piece. Digital citizenship is a big thing.
Yes.
You know, we talk a lot about that. Now that we're opened up into Google Classroom, I mean, sometimes we can make comments on things.
Right.
And teachers have that ability to do that. And that's an excellent way and a safe way of teaching students how to interact and how to communicate
Right.
online. Because that also is just not going away.
Right.
You know,
No,
that's
it's
going
not.
that's going to be their life.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great kind of a big start to their career here, and so
Yes.
that's new for them, definitely
Yes.
for sure. We also start doing more grades with things.
Yes, we do. We
Yeah.
have now switched it. In third grade, we're teaching the kids. We do A through F. We
Yep.
do a scale that way.
Yeah.
They actually get a letter grade, and then they find out, if you get, like my class knows below a 70, we're going to try to do it one more time.
Yeah, yeah.
And then a little bit more reteaching happens.
Sure.
So they're learning a lot about the
Yeah.
grade system that they'll have for the rest of the school career.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to kind of remember this as parents, that grade system that we have is all new.
Yes.
And they have to learn that. You know, they have to work through that. And so don't be too concerned
Right.
if you see some lower grades.
Yes.
That's part of the learning curve.
It is.
It truly is. And it's not so high stakes that, that something's going to happen. I mean, definitely if they're struggling a little bit, you'll have a teacher that reaches out to you. But don't be too alarmed by some of those grades because that is new. We've worked in first and second and kindergarten on more of a can you do it, can you not do
Right.
it, did you do it, did you participate? And now we're working more on what that work completion looks
Right.
like, and that's all new.
Yeah. And digging deeper.
Yeah,
Is a
absolutely.
big thing, and comprehension and applying it now. You've
Yeah.
learned the skill, now let's apply it.
Right. Yeah. So that's definitely a learning curve for
Yes,
it. So
big one.
And I know some parents, especially when you see those scores or grades, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got a D on this. What's going
Right.
on? Don't panic. Don't
Right.
worry. Yeah, we're not on fire here. We're all
Right.
right. We're all
Yes.
good. We're learning through that. So
Yes.
that's definitely something that's okay. I'm pretty sure my college did not not look at my third grade report card when I got in there.
Probably not.
I hope not,
Nope.
because I think I did flub a couple of assignments. But
Yes.
So that's one thing. And then also, we just talked to our first and second grade, and we talked a little bit about how that focuses on reading
Right.
and it's on math. And we kind of transition. We start transitioning in third
Yes.
grade to kind of even our subjects out a little bit more.
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about what's the frequency of the science and the social studies in third grade?
So science and social studies is we do a little bit of a science, and then we flip over and then we do social studies, but they're deeper.
Yeah.
We are definitely more we are doing a lot of hands-on. We extended our time so that we could be more hands-on to help the kids understand more and dig, like we always say in third grade, our big term is dig deeper and applying the skills that they've learned. The fun thing that we do in social studies is the curriculum is a lot of learning everything about Sydney and the history of Sydney. And so we'll be doing that more towards the spring semester. But the kids absolutely go crazy over learning just about Sydney. And how it started.
Yeah, and what's cool about social studies is it starts like simple. So
Right.
like even in kindergarten, they start just talking about themselves, and then it just slowly kind of
Yes.
works out to neighborhoods, communities. Third grade,
Yeah.
now we're talking about our city,
Mhm.
and then it just kind of gets bigger and bigger.
Right.
Fourth grade goes to the state, and we just get wider and wider
Right.
on this big circle, and the kids
Yes.
kind of understand that more. But yeah, so more time spent in those kind of subjects. The reading is a little bit more intensive, especially in a science and a social studies. Those are things that we've got a good base that we've started, and now we just build on that. We
Yes.
apply those skills. And so instead of teaching those basic skills, we're working more on applying, going deeper,
Right.
just like you
Yes.
said, which is
Yeah.
amazing. So that's a great little overview for our third grade parents out there who are new, and also for our first and second
Right.
grade who are going to be moving into third grade. What's
Yes.
that going to look like? Testing's different, technology's different.
Yes.
Subjects are the same, but not quite. We
Right.
move into a different program. So I do also want to touch on, and almost forgot,
Yes.
but our math program switches. So we have Zern in
Yes.
first and second grade, third through, I believe, sixth grade?
Through high school.
Through high school, too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They use what's called Big Ideas.
Right. Yeah.
So you've used Zern. You've used Big
Yes.
Ideas. Tell us a little bit about like what Big Ideas does and kind of why we like that for third grade and up.
So on Big Ideas, it focuses on strategies, which also Zern does, but we go a little deeper, and it goes into more real life.
Yeah.
And we do number sense, but now we are learning multiplication. We go big into that division, area, perimeter. We do that stuff. So it just goes a little deeper. And it does a lot of also recall knowledge, and it does a lot of word problems, which the kids need to learn because it is tough.
Right. It is, yeah. So those differences were kind of a thing we've thought. Third grade was a great split for.
Yes.
Kind of transitioning from that Zern to Big Ideas. And they'll see that for a very long time coming out here, so which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, and last year we changed, second semester we started Big Ideas,
Yep.
and we saw a great growth in our NSCAS.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe the growth that we saw in the kids, so
Yeah.
we're really excited and we like
that's
the
great.
program.
That's good. Yep,
Yes.
definitely. I think the kids like it too. It's always
Yes,
kind of
they
nice to
seem-
kind of change it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
oh yeah, they were excited. No exit tickets.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
the big thing.
Yeah,
And no
yeah.
Tower of Power.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yes,
Some of those
yes.
things.
They were
that's
very
what they
happy
got.
about
Yep,
that.
Sure thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Larson, for
Thanks.
joining us. You
Yes.
are free. It wasn't even that bad, was it?
No, I survived.
Yeah, I told you.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd be all
Yep.
good. So thank you for joining us
Yes,
tonight.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we are kind of ready to wrap this up. Look at that. I was rated about an hour. I was right on with this, which is awesome. So we have, I had a couple giveaways I want to give through, and then I have a couple announcements, and then you guys are free. You're free to enjoy the rest of your night, which is awesome. Let's see here. All right. The stack of pancakes. We have Emily Garcia. Their favorite story to read is Where the Wild Things Are. Yeah, I love that story. That's a fantastic story. Where the Wild Things Are. The graphics, the pictures, so amazing in that one. And then we also have Tobias from third grade. Balto you're going to get the not invisible, I promise, avocado, which is awesome. So Tobias is going to get that with Balto with the story. I think, I'm going to have to help from my audience here. Balto, is that a dog? Yes! I thought I had it right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Very good. So I have one more giveaway to do, and then I'm going to talk because this one's going to require you to get on there if you haven't already. And I got to unbury this one here. So again, thank you guys for coming tonight. Check this out. This is huge. This is going to take up the whole thing. This is almost as big as my graphics I shared. An LED beanbag toss. This is probably the coolest thing that I've ever seen. I believe I believe I actually won this already, guys, so you don't even need to worry about it. I think this is Mr. Meyer's prize. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. But you can use this outdoors. Look at this. The thing lights up. The bean bags light up too. This is perfect. It's going to be getting dark really soon, and so that's amazing. Miss Cole did a great job with at least one of those prizes. Nice job with that. Very good. So our giveaway for this, all you have to do is just make sure that you have put your name in the chat that you have watched tonight. Okay, that's all you have to do. And what we're going to do is I'll just do a random draw of somebody who watched tonight. So if you have not already done so, please put your child's name in the chat that you participated at virtual curriculum night, and we'll get you entered into a drawing to win the coolest prize that we've had. That's awesome. All right, Miss Cole, you're going to shop every year from now on. That was amazing. So good job there with that. All right, so let's wrap things up here. I have a couple of just quick announcements. First of all, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Your dedication and the things that you do are what makes South so amazing. That partnership that we can have with you is so important. I hope you enjoyed tonight. I hope you thought it was informative. I hope you thought it was fun. Hopefully a couple little laughs at some of our flubs and everything else that we had going on. So our last announcements that I have, I just want to remind you all that this Friday we do not have school. This is a teacher work day. The following Friday we also do not have school because we had parent-teacher conferences on Wednesday and Thursday. So parent-teacher conferences Wednesday, Thursday. Big thing here, those are early dismissal days. We are going to follow a Friday dismissal schedule. Okay, so if you did not know that already, please check Class Dojo. I have that as an event, but also just remind you there, it's an early dismissal day. And then we have conferences that run from 4:30 to 8 both nights. Hopefully you are already signed up for that. We'd love to have you guys come in. It's too bad we can't spend a little bit more time. I mean, it's just kind of packed, so that 15 minutes is going to be jam-packed. But I'm hoping some of the information, especially as we talked about assessments, can kind of help you guide yourself through that so you can spend a little more time talking about your child instead of kind of just scores, that sort of stuff. Also, we have a book fair during conferences, but it's not going to be at South or at West. It's actually going to be at the Middle School Media Center, but we will be having a virtual book fair as well. I'll share that out on Class Dojo. I kind of blasted you guys with the curriculum night stuff, so I didn't want to throw that out quite yet. Probably starting next week, I'll throw that out so that you can join if you'd like to get some purchase that way, and then they'll come in and you can get them as well. So those are the announcements that I have. Again, thank you guys for coming tonight. I feel like we had a great show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your night. I'm going to leave this running just for a little bit in case you have not gotten a chance to put your name in the chat, because I do want you to do that. I'll get those Raider badges made. But with that, we are all finished. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night. We'll see y'all tomorrow.